and I'm a child protection specialist in UNICEF Eastern and Southern Africa Regional Office. Before we start, there was a slide being projected earlier on all the webinar protocols. I would like just to go through them quickly so that we have a very good and lively session. For those who haven't done so already, please type your name, the office, and the country that you're from using the chat box. I'd also like to kindly request all the participants to mute your microphones at all times during the session unless you are invited to intervene. You're also encouraged to type in the chat box any questions or comments that you may have, and we'll ensure to respond to all of the questions asked before the end of the session. You may also use the raise hand button if you want to ask your questions directly. The webinar is being recorded, and the purpose of recording is just for our own reference. Now, let me proceed and just give a bit of an introduction of this virtual study tour. Today's virtual study tour is on Kenya, the care reform in Kenya. The virtual study tour in Kenya involves participants that a few documents were actually shared with you earlier on for you to read and go through some of the write-ups about the care reform in Kenya. And also there was a video that was pre-recorded. You are also encouraged to, we will also be showing this during the session. And we are joined with a panel of experts, and we'll have a set of questions that we'll ask them for them to give us more insight of the program that they're implementing in Kenya. And then we'll have a question and answer session. Just to, for those who have not participated in a similar session before, this learning platform and this particular virtual study tour from Kenya is also part of the regional learning platform on care reform. And this platform is really established to allow or to provide the platform for government, UNICEF staff, and partners to be able to learn and share experiences around care reform. The learning is shared through webinars, document exchange. We have a help desk, which is basically an email, my email and Emily's email, that you can write to in case you have any questions concerning care. And also we provide a pairing and mentoring session for people, for countries that wish to learn from others in a greater, more detail. And also, this platform is open to all the UNICEF country offices. We have 21 country offices in Eastern and Southern Africa, and all countries are welcome to participate, including their government and respective partners. The management of this platform is supported by Child Frontiers, which is a consultancy firm, and we have Emily Dillop, please have your video on and wave, as the lead consultant for this work. The learning platform, thank you, Emily. The learning platform is for, again, for this region, and will be led by various professionals in the region. This initiative is led by UNICEF Regional Office, as I've mentioned, in collaboration with Changing the Way We Care, which is a multi-country project that aims to reduce countries' reliance on residential care and support families. So a very warm welcome once again to all the government representatives that have joined us today, and also to all the UNICEF staff, mainly from Child Protection. And yes, so for now, what I would like to do is to go ahead and introduce the esteemed panelists that are here, the panel. Let me start off, and I'll request each panelist to switch on your video when I call on your name and introduce yourself and the organization you're from, and then we will proceed with the question and answer. So let me start off by inviting Catherine. Catherine from Kenya Country Office, UNICEF Kenya Country Office. Please introduce yourself, Catherine. Unmute your mic, sorry, Catherine. Unmute your mic so that we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you so much, and greetings to everyone in the meeting. My name's Catherine Kimotho. I'm a child protection specialist working with UNICEF Kenya. Happy to be in this meeting today.
Thank you, Catherine, and a warm welcome to you. May I invite Ms. Hudson, Mr. Hudson Imani, to introduce himself.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Hudson Imbai. I work for the Department of Children's Services under the Ministry of Labor, based at the headquarters in Nairobi. Thank you, and over.
Thank you. May I also invite Frederick to introduce himself? Frederick.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. I'm Frederick Mutinda Mwangangi. I work with Catholic Leave Services. My current assignment is the project director for Changing the Wiki initiative here in Kenya. Thank you and happy to be here.
Thank you, Frederick. May I invite Michelle to introduce herself?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Grateful to be here and wishing everybody a wonderful day and a wonderful session. I'm Michelle Oliel from Stahili Foundation, Kenya. I serve as the executive director.
Thank you, Michelle. And Sister Delvin.
Thank you, Mona. I'm Sister Delphine Muhwana, the Daughters of the Heart of Mary, and I work at the Association of Sisters of Kenya as a program manager for the Catholic Care for the Children in Kenya. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope I've not missed anyone. That is yes. So that will be the panel that will be giving us more information using a question and answer. So now I'd like to start off with the first question. And this first question goes to Hudson. We know that Kenya has a number of different policies on or relating to care reform. Which ones are most important? Can you highlight the ones that are most important, Hudson? Do we have Hudson? Okay.
Hello,
Yes,
good morning.
Yes.
There you are.
This is Hudson. Kindly repeat your question.
Yes. So Hudson, we're aware that Kenya has a number of different policies relating to care reform. We would like you to highlight the ones which are most important in Kenya.
Yeah, thank you so much for that good question. Yes, indeed, Kenya as a country has got a lot of policies concerning care reform. In order of priority, I think basically we are relying on the Constitution of Kenya 2010, which is very key because it is putting the family as the most fundamental unit under which children should be raised. That is under Article 45 of the Kenyan Constitution. From the Children Act also is another document that is very key because it is detailing the processes of undertaking care reforms, be it at the community level, at the institutional level, and at all levels. We also have various regulations. We are talking about the national best standards practices for CCIs that are guiding how the CCI should be actually operated. We also have the adoption regulations that are focusing mainly on adoption issues. We also have the alternative family care guidelines that is now guiding the operationalization of care reforms in terms of community-based care options. Talk of adoption, guardianship, kinship, supported independent living, child-headed household, amongst others. So basically, those are the main options, the main policies. But of great importance is the development of the strategy that is still ongoing, but we have made tremendous efforts, and this will be very key in guiding implementation of care reforms. Thank you, and over.
Thank you very much, Hudson, for that response. We also are aware that there is a new national strategy. Can you tell us a bit more about the new national strategy? Like, why was it developed? What difference do you hope it will make? Over to you, Hudson.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. The strategy is actually being developed, you are right, and it has several objectives. The two main ones are to create an enabling environment at the national level for care reform to be successfully implemented at the local levels. It will achieve this by, one, developing an effective management and coordination structures that are defining clear roles and responsibilities of stakeholders in being accountable for care reform, as well as oversight, including monitoring and quality assuring in proper implementation with accordance with the policies, plans, and guidelines. It will also be strengthening the laws, regulations, policies, standards, guidelines, and procedures which support family and community-based care. It is also focusing on strengthening the services, systems, and the workforce, which enable children and young people to live in a family and community-based care. It also will lead to strengthen the capacity of the relevant workforce to increase their knowledge and provide needs in terms of infrastructure that will actually enable support more of family-based interventions for children without parental care and those at risk of separation, including avoiding unnecessary separation of children from their families as opposed to residential care. So it is also going to lead into developing an effective communication and advocacy strategy to promote care reforms, which show that it is better for children and young people to live in families rather than in institutions.
Thank you, Hudson. I think you have really highlighted the importance of having that enabling environment to be able to implement the program, the care reform program. Now, let's just move to Catherine of UNICEF Kenya Country Office. Can you tell us, what do you think are the most key components of care reform in Kenya? Catherine, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mona, for that question. And also thanking Hudson for being the forerunner on what is happening in Kenya. And what we see as key components for care reform in Kenya, and which I must say has gained a lot of momentum, is issues around policy and legislation reforms. And we are lucky as Kenya because, lucky in a way, because we have been in a process of developing a new Children's Act. And though it has delayed, that gave us an opportunity to include provisions around family-based care. So it's quite comprehensive. And as Hudson said, just like the strategy, it's within Parliament to start the process of enactment. So the policy arena, both for national and county level, we have 47 counties in Kenya. So that is one of the components. The second big component is just putting mechanisms around family strengthening to prevent prevention and also to prepare families to take children back home. And the government, with support of partners, including UNICEF and the ones here, we are developing programs around parenting program as one of the prevention component, social protection intervention. So there are debates around how can the National Safety Net program extend to the families who are having difficulties raising their children, and even including a universal child grant, which is, it's a discussion within the government social protection sector. And then the other main big component is the tracing component, where as much as possible, children who are lost or separated from their parents, coordinated tracing is done. And the strengthening of the alternative care options, as mentioned by Hudson, which are in the national guidelines for alternative care, but also very well captured in the strategy, which we are expecting to be completed within July. So that component is very strong, and together with government, we've started putting up those mechanisms, especially the foster care mechanisms, the kafala for the Muslim community, supported independent living, and a range of others. And then working towards transitioning of institutional care to community and family-based programs. And that is captured in the strategy, but discussions on DI, the institutionalization, has started with the institutions themselves. In Kenya, we call them charitable children institutions, and we also have the statutory institutions for children in need of care and protection. And just to mention that Kenya has taken the component of children with disability very seriously, especially learning from other countries that have done care reform. So that's a big component. But overall on this, the component of coordination and leadership by the government is very emphasized, both at national level and at county levels. And we feel the processes are rolling out. We're having some demonstration counties. And yeah, so those are the components. Thanks, Mona.
Thank you very much, Catherine, for that elaboration. I think, you know, what I've captured from you is that the care reform does not operate in silos. The program is embedded through your existing child protection system to ensure that you reach all children and leave no one behind. You've mentioned the importance of also including the children without disability, and that is advancing pretty much. Yeah. Now, if I can go to the next question, where we'll have Changing the Way We Care and Stahili, and you can respond to this. Catherine did mention in her remarks that there are some demonstration counties. Can you tell us a bit more? What are these demonstration counties? How have they been used to generate reform? And also, please provide some examples from the counties your organizations are involved in. So we can start with Michelle and then Frederick. Over to you.
Hello, good morning. Thank you so much for the question. So Stahili Foundation, just for background, is a small organization that has been working within Murang'a County, which is one of the 47 counties in Kenya, since 2013 to support children who were living in institutional care. As a demonstration, throughout the work, we've been working closely with collaboration and of course under the leadership of the Department of Children's Services. And throughout this time continued to build upon that. We were very fortunate that in Kenya, as Mr. Mbai had mentioned, had continued at this time to develop its framework, guidelines, case management tools, and a lot of activities that I'm sure Frederick may also touch upon. As a demonstration county, Murang'a was selected as one of the demonstration counties as a result of the significant activities that had started to take place, mostly starting in 2018, 2019, in support with government partners, the wonderful support of Changing the Way We Care. As a demonstration county, how we started was to take an evidence-based approach. We conducted a situational analysis, which I believe many of the participants may be aware of, to really understand those push and pull factors, how many children lived in institutional care, the reasons, and so on and so forth. And this gave us a really strong evidence-based to start working and developing those critical solutions. How we're working, and I could probably speak about this for hours with great enthusiasm and excitement, but what we've done is within the county is developed smaller pilots. So for example, we do have a pilot in which kinship carers are supported, pilots on a transition of a CCI, Charitable Children's Institution, a transition of that CCI to alternative family-based care options, a pilot which supports supported independent living, and as well as a very small scale emergency foster care program in one of the sub-counties. Through these activities, which have really been supported also by large-scale sensitization, at the same time, the building up of the social service workforce, we are working not only to generate outcomes, but also to generate that key learning, which we hope will continue to inspire reforms not only in the demonstration counties, but across. And as we continue to work under the leadership of the Department of Children's Services, we continue to document these key challenges. Another area that we've piloted, I should mention, is a pilot of a child incarcerated with her mother. This has also been a successful pilot that we hope, knowing that this is an issue across Kenya as well, to continue to document and develop those lessons to go forward. I think I'll stop there. There's very much to be said. As we can see from my remarks, there are various facets and intricacies and various forms of care that we need to take particular attention to. I think one of the lessons we're drawing from Moronga is taking an approach that's A, evidence-based, B, also involves the building of the capacity of the social service workforce, disseminating those key tools that the government has developed to ensure that we are all speaking a common language, and bringing together also a county-wide implementation level task force, which includes various stakeholders, including from the national government to the county government level, and also strengthening those various mechanisms like AACs, area advisory councils, to ensure that we have a really holistic framework that we can continue to build upon and ensure that children do remain in families, and where they are separated, that such separation is temporary. What we've really learned in the last year, for example, through the foster care program, which is now in the process of scale up, documentation has been done, is that we can indeed, when we work to develop hand in hand with community, working on this, using the appropriate tools, that we can come together to strengthen our gatekeeping mechanisms. I'll stop there. I hope I've answered your question, Mona. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you very much. Let us also hear from Frederick before I conclude. Over to you, Frederick.
Thank you so much. And once again, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are taking this webinar from. So just to add on to what Michelle said, maybe also to give an idea of what we mean by demonstration counties and also how these counties were arrived at. This was a process that was undertaken between Changing the Way We Care and the government. And what we did, that we put all the 47 counties in Kenya into some form of scale. And some of the things that we were looking at is like how the scalability of care reform in those specific counties, the issue of the number of CCIs, how was this issue of institutionalization of children an issue in those specific counties, because in Kenya you have counties that don't even have any single CCI. Then also in terms of coordination structure, how does the community—
Understand what CCI is? Sorry for that.
Thank you so much. In Kenya, CCI, it's charitable children institution, and what is commonly referred as an orphanage in other parts of the world, or children homes. And we have charitable children institution and what we call statutory children institution, the SCIs, which are institutions that are managed by the government, and these will form the likes of remand homes, rehabilitation centers, and rescue schools managed by government. So with all that in mind, then we were able to narrow down to 4 specific counties by that time, and that was Kilifi, we had Kiambu County, we had Kisumu County, and we had Nyamira County. Of course, Kisumu was a top priority because of the work that UNICEF had started with government, and we really wanted to collaborate closely to be able to make sure that we are consolidating our efforts. And of course, now the 5th county being Murang'a, because also of the wonderful efforts that were being done by Stahili Foundation there. So just to add on to what Michelle has said, all the 5 counties, we conducted what we call a situation analysis, just to be able to understand how many charitable children institutions are there, the number of children in terms of gender, how many are boys, how many are girls, in terms of the age brackets, and in terms of some of the push and pull factors that are taking these children to those institutions, and what is the attitude like in terms of institutionalization there. This specific report for all the 5 counties is already signed off by the cabinet secretary, and it's available. And the other thing was also, we also do in demonstration counties, is also to support the component that Catherine mentioned earlier on transitioning institutions, in terms of identifying some of those charitable children institutions that are really willing to transition from residential care to family-based care. We already have examples, like for example, in Kilifi, we have an institution called Upendo, which has so far transitioned from, has actually reintegrated all children back home, and they are following up with those children. The donors agreed that they redirect all those resources to support those children are at home. Then even their structure that is there, their board of management has already entered into agreement with one of government training college, and they have rented the facility, and the income generating is also supporting those children at home. So this kind of demonstration, they are quite important for CCS to see it is doable. Then maybe the other thing to mention is that also the other thing that you're working with the charitable children institutions and government structures at that point, that level of the counties, is to ensure that also we have clear structures of case management for reintegration approach. And with this, we want to ensure that no child will be harmed through the process of going back home. The children are prepared to leave the institution, the family are prepared to receive children, and the children who don't have biological family or extended family as an option, at least we have alternative family care families that are well prepared to take these children. Of course, by doing this, we need to have a very strong community level social workforce, and this in Kenya, we call them the child protection volunteers, whereby it might be the volunteer children officers or the community health workers, health volunteers, or paralegals that are available there just to support that reintegration of that child in that community. And of course, also of importance is to see that the work that is happening in these 5 demonstration county, it's really informing a lot the work that is happening at the national level in terms of the strategies, the guidelines, the policies. Every time that we're having an activity, an action at the national level, representation from these counties are available just to share their learning and their lessons. So that has been quite instrumental, and to ensure that the country, as a country, we are discussing and we are learning across different demonstration area. The Department of Children's Services has really initiated what we call monthly demonstration county coordination meetings, that on each and every month, all counties are there, we meet, we present what has happened, and we learn from each other, and we see what are the next steps of action. Thank you so much. Also hoping that answered your question. Asante.
Thank you very much, Michelle and Frederick, for a very elaborative response. I think what I'm getting here from your responses is that even though you're a non-governmental organization, it's still very important to move and work alongside with government. And I'm very pleased to hear that you have monthly demonstration sessions or meetings which are facilitated by the Department of Social Affairs to really learn from each other. And even though the demonstration counties are in 5, they're in 5 of the counties in Kenya, we hope that you'll be able to take this work to scale to cover all the 47 counties in Kenya. So thank you very much once again, Michelle and Frederick. Let us now move to Sister Delvin. Sister Delvin, we know that faith-based organization, religious leaders play an important role in the development of children, including care reform. So can you please tell us what role have the Catholic sisters played in care reform in Kenya? Thank you, Sister Delvin, and over to you.
Thank you, Mona, and thank you, everyone. I will first of all start to explain a little bit about what we do as an association. And I will say that this is a sister-led movement, because not just a one country work, It's sisters across the globe. Of course, it began in Zambia, then Uganda, then Kenya. So that's why you call it a movement. So it's a sister-led movement that is charism-led. You know, charism is the calling that sisters have been called to respond to the care of the vulnerable children. So this is the force behind care of children. And that's why we have also the presence of CCIs, or what Frederick was talking of, charitable care institutions. So we felt as an association of sisterhoods in Kenya, first of all, that we are people who are also stakeholders in care and the protection of children. And we saw that most of these congregations is not only sisters, but also our religious men and clergy also are taking care and protecting children. And that means that most of us have got CCIs. But looking at what the call of the Pope on the care of minors, changing how we have been doing things. Of course, care has been there and has been good from all this time, minus the problems that we've had, of course. Then we felt there is a need with what we are doing as sisters in the whole country to see how do we improve the care and the protection of children, responding to the call of the Holy Father and also responding to the call of the government for the care reforms around the care of children and all that. So this gave us an opportunity to go and do a baseline survey to understand, first of all, how many children homes do we have that are under Catholic care, and who runs them, who founded them, and which kind of vulnerability that these sisters are taking care of. So in 2018, we had a baseline survey and we had some findings. Of course, looking at the CCAs that we have, a good number are outside there, but we managed to find out that there are 132 CCIs as we speak present. Of course, others are there as we go on. We discover that others exist, only that they had not registered with the government. So with that, also we realize that then some are not fully CCIs, but are just programs or what we call small homes. I know I don't want to go in details because I'll share with you a slide that I had prepared. So there are different forms of these kind of CCIs that are run by sisters or brothers or priests. So there are small homes, there are children homes, there are what we call rehabilitation centers, rescue centers, and all that. So with this in our mind, we feel that there's something that is missing in the care reform when it comes to do with the care that sisters or priests or brothers are running. And therefore, the baseline helped us to identify some of the gaps that can help us to forge ahead and see how best we can care and protect for the children, and more especially focusing on the reforms for the family, community, and alternative care. Because as I said earlier, we've been having CCIs, and of course, they are still there. A good number of them, 132 is a big number when we speak of that. So we found out that some of these homes, maybe we have administrators who are sisters or not sisters necessarily. They don't have even quality education, I would say, or profession when we talk of care and the protection of children, because somebody should have at least some knowledge on how to care and protect for their children. So that's one of the things that we found out then as a gap. And also we feel that case management also is an issue. Some are doing it very well, you can say even 100+%, but some were really poor. So this affected even reintegration process. So we felt then these are major gaps that we are having, and we felt there is a need of really seeing how do we reach out to the sisters and the clergy and the religious men to be able to improve our services that we offer for the care and the protection of children. So with that, as an association, that's AOSK, Association of Sisters of Kenya, under the Catholic Care for the Children of Kenya program, we began looking into ways or strategies on how we can work out this. And we felt there's a need of mobilizing, bringing together to work as a synergy, as now Catholic care institutions, first of all, Then when we come together, we feel the need of improving the case management, the need of doing training. So as we speak right now, we sponsored more than 40 sisters who are taking social work at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa. Then also we've got those who have been trained, 24 of them just in integrative spiritual counseling, because we believe that the people who serve children, first of all, they have to be already mentored also in a way that they don't cause harm, because the principle of do no harm in the interest of a child first. So we prepare them so that as they help children, also helping them in a correct way. So we also have sisters across. So we did what we creation of awareness. That's through all sisters in all levels, be it those information, those who are already sisters and working in different fields, education, health, and all that. We sensitize them to know why we need to reform, why we need to reintegrate children if at all we have them in our institutions, and why should we prevent or be gatekeepers to prevent children from moving from families to the institutions. So we also try to educate them and capacity build them on legal framework whereby there is a need of any Catholic institution or any congregation to have the child protection policy in place. Of course, some had, some didn't have, but we've tried as a program under the association right now to support more than 45 congregations in general, to support them to develop their own child protection policy guidelines, so that we start from there. We felt there is a need of not just jumping to see into the reintegration, but what are these gaps that we are having down here, to levelize the ground, first of all, people to understand why these reforms and why should we have the reforms, then what tools do we need to have for us to achieve the goal of seeing the children are reintegrated in the families and all that. So therefore, we had to make sure that all congregations, first of all, understand care reforms. We won their hearts and minds by bringing together superior generals and sisters alike, just to talk to them. Of course, it was difficult. You know, this is their charism. Is not something that are just speaking for the sake of. It's like their life, because some of the congregation, this is typically what they do. So how do you convince them? So that has been our work, convincing them and showing them this is the way, teaching them and telling them this. We have to have legal framework in place. We have to know, we have to place sisters who are trained, who are at least social workers, who understand protection and care of children in the institution. We have to help the sisters who are in those institutions to transit children from institutions to the families, and the need of them strengthening the families through collaboration in given parishes or prayer houses that are near that community where the CCI belongs and all that. So this has been our own day-to-day work that we do to sensitize them, to make sure that everything is in place as we move ahead. And it has yielded fruit, because right now all congregations are with us and are supporting the cause. And with that, now we are looking into how do we transit or transition the donors with us. So because one of the challenges that we have experienced, sister sharing, is that the problem is that one donor will tell you, unless children are with you in the center, I will not help you. So we are seeing into ways on how do we, as we transit children, then how do we also transit with donors so that they can help us support children from families and all that. And so far, there are many trainings we are doing on how also to mobilize funds and all that through another technique that we are taking through all CCIs under the CCK, to see that they're in a position to transit with the donors and also explain to them the reason as to why, because the need of the government, the need of us as a people, first of all, and the need of the entire world, what is happening today. So with that, I'm seeing we are already rolling out with the two institutions that now we are training on how to transit, then the rest will follow on. And because we are insisting on transitioning of children to their families and the communities, we failed. Remember, we had a gap in case management. So we are the first one anyway, through the help of CRS, Frederick, and the rest of the team. We adopted very fast the case management tool that they have developed by the government, and we put it into an base management system that is online, so that we support each CCI to have their own case management system, so that we are able from our side and from their side to monitor to see how are these children being reintegrated and how are they bringing in and what is the reason and all that. So far right now as we speak, all of them are on the system. We are using the case management of the government through the support of CRS and the rest. And we are monitoring to see what might be the gaps that we want to fill, to see that everybody is on board, and we can see even statistics to help us to learn and to see where are we making mistakes, or where are we moving and where are we not moving. So also another strategy that we are using, because remember our end goal as CCK is holistic family and community-based care. So what we do, we are trying to advocate on the higher level of the church. Of course we are part of the church, but the higher level, I talk of the bishops, the clergy, and all that. So we felt the need of collaborating with the regional bodies, national bodies like Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops on their level, and then AMESEA, that is an association for Episcopal Conference of Eastern Africa, to see that they help us through the structure of the church to reach to the clergy and to the Christians, so that as we go in, we capacity build, we create awareness, it's easy to support now or strengthen the families at that grassroots level. Because on our own, sometimes it's difficult, because they are the ones running these parishes, they are the ones in control in a diocese, as we all know. So through the collaboration, we are feeling that is helping us slowly to reach out to all those people at the grassroots. And this will help us even to reach to the rest. It's not only, we are using only Catholic structures, but our intention is the whole population, be it, even if you're not a Catholic or whatever, we reach to you. And with that, I would say we have seen a lot of fruits so far, because what we feel strong is that already we've changed the mind and hearts of people, which is the first thing. And they are ready and they're asking, how do we go about this and how do we do about this? So that is motivating us even to do more. But mostly, as we speak right now, we are only trying to support the CCIs when we do visits in these CCIs to see what are they doing, what mechanism do they have in place, so that we make sure they have the best practice first of all. Then we see how do they transit these children to the families, and what are their mechanisms put in place to support the families. So that has been our work, and that's what we are doing, and we are happy to share with you. We've got we have got a model also that we developed called SCRIPIC model, Sustainable Children Rights Protection and Post-Nutritional Care, that we are trying to put across all our stakeholders to know and learn. Of course, it's in detail, don't want to go in that, I'll share with you so that you can learn on your own. And
thank you very much, Sister Delvin. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut you there. We have learned a lot from you, and very pleased to see that the Catholic Church as a religious institution is taking the care reform agenda to the next level. And most importantly, what you said there, Sister Delvin, about listening or receiving the call from the Pope, but also the call from the government of Kenya to advance the work forward. Very important. I recognize that we have Mr. Abnur Sheikh, the acting CEO of National Council of Children's Services. We also have Mrs. Karen Ogoti, who is the director in the Department of Children's Services in charge of implementation of care reform activities, including the demonstration in selected counties. Very happy to have you with us, and we'll greatly appreciate to also hear your feedback, especially when we start the question and answers. Now, if I can go back to the panelists, if you can just say one key challenge. We've heard all the great successes and the great progress that you're making in care reform. Can we quickly just go back and just mention one substantial challenge you have faced in care reform in Kenya and how this was overcome on what you have learned and what you've learned from this. Just a quick round before we can proceed with the question and answers. So let us start again with Hudson, and then we'll go back to the same order. Hudson, Catherine, starting with you, Hudson, one key challenge and how you've managed to overcome that and what you've learned from it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Monica, for that great question. The challenge we've had basically is touching on what the sister has raised in terms of labeling of children, that these children belong to so and so sponsorship from this type of organization. So that has been the main challenge, because that is a great impediment to achievement of care reforms. So basically how we've been able to handle this is through donor awareness creation, because we were able, especially in the pilot counties, to talk to the social workers, the top management level within those particular institutions, with the view of changing the perception of the donor, so that they are able to focus on repurposing, or rather redirection of resources from within the institutions back to the community.
Thank you very much, Hudson. I like the way you've managed to learn from that and then, re-strategize and now doing donor education. Let us move to Catherine. One key challenge and how you've managed to overcome that. Over to you, Catherine.
Okay, thank you. One key challenge I can point out to is moving from policy and document development to practice. As you heard, we have the policies, we have the guidelines, strategies and all that, and that was big. Our guidelines was developed in 2014, but we were not seeing a change. And as Michelle and Fred said, the way we started handling that is starting pilot, which is started in one county, and we added the demonstration counties, moving from the documents to the practice. And with that, we've done the case management documents, the standard operating procedures from learning, and we hope to scale up. Yes, over to you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. A very key challenge and how you managed to move from paper to practice. Let us now go to Michelle and Stahili and Frederick, sorry. Over to you, Michelle.
Great, thanks so much. I absolutely agree with the first two challenges, but to raise a third, I would say that one of the challenges we faced, especially when working with CCIs, would be that many of them actually lacked the necessary social workforce. So social workers, counselors who are necessary to undertake this work. Some of the ways that we've overcome this, of course, under the leadership of government is indeed training the parasocial workforce, but also recognizing that we do need some of those professional services. In Murang'a County, we've been able to deploy social workers and a counselor to support the CCIs. However, we recognize that this will continue to remain a challenge as the social service workforce until we continue to scale up, as Mr. Mutinda said, the community structures, community health workers, child protection, volunteers. So I think this is the direction we're heading, but to keep in the back of our mind that we definitely, these cases are indeed labor intensive, and that we do need additional hands on board to provide the adequate care. We've overcome it by using, following for colleagues in Rwanda, the very Rwanda model of a pair of social worker and counselor together, and we found this to be useful. Over.
Thank you, Michelle. And Frederick, over to you. One key challenge.
Thank you so much. I think from a practical point of view, one of the key challenges was how do we engage and change the mindset of the families to accept their children back home after long stay in the institutions. And it wasn't easy from the word go, because many parents, many caregivers and communities felt that institution was really providing the right support of these children. And some of them were sending their children there deliberately. But through case management approach, which is child-centered and family focused, we have been able to constantly educate the caregivers and the parents on the need for them to reconsider their children coming back to the institution. And through the family assessment and the case planning model, we have been able to see a big attitude change of some parents who have even said, once my child comes back from institution, I don't want them to go back there. I just want to get that support. And even without the support of changing the UK of government, I'm ready to stay with my children because this is the best way for the best place for the children to stay. I think that has been very, very instrumental. Thank you.
Thank you, Frederick and Michelle. And over to you, Sister Delvin. One key challenge in summary. Thank you.
One key challenge was the fear of losing donors, of which CCAs expressed. But with that, we've come up with a strategy to see how do we support them to be able to fundraise or to resource mobilize so that they can have new donors who are willing to support them. Because as you know, when you are integrating, definitely a family aspect strengthening needs a lot of support. So with that, we are seeing if those who are there can be maintained and those who are new who feel like they can support. So we are looking into that strategy to see how is it going to support these CCIs so that as they repurpose, they are able also to be supported by others who are willing to move with them. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. In the interest of time, I'm not going to summarize everything. I think we all fully heard some of the progress made, the successes, but also the challenges and how they are able to overcome those challenges and even learn some lessons from that. I would now like to pass it over to Emily, who will take us through the Q&A session. Over to you, Emily.
Thanks so much, Mona. Thank you. If you have questions, you can either type them in the chat box or you can raise your hand, and I'll try and keep an eye on everybody to see if anyone's raised their hands. We did have a couple of questions that have come up. The first one, sorry, just scrolling up, was around the attitudes of, and this actually came from someone, Abdinur Sheikh, who is the acting CEO of the Council of Children's Services. So we'd welcome a response from you as well as asking this question to others in the panel. But the challenges lie in the attitudes of communities, the proprietors of the home and the staff in institutions. And how do you deal with changing these attitudes? And what practical experiences do you have for changing those attitudes? So is anyone in the panel able to answer that question?
I think I'll pick that, although I didn't get clearly everything, but you know, changing of attitudes, this is one of our hurdles that we've had really to deal with. And especially as I shared, we began with sisters themselves. So we had to talk to them, convince them, then give them practical cases and instances and see the facts and the reality of where we have to move to. So slowly, as one picks it and understands, you see, the whole group accepts. And the same, it has been even with the social workers in the CCAs because they fear of losing their jobs. But when you explain to them and you show them the need of them just understanding that their jobs are just being kind of transited to another level, is not only that they are losing their jobs, then they start realizing and they change attitude. This has been one of our achievements, I will say, because it's convincing even to an extent of talking to the Episcopal Conference, those the priests, some who are like, what do you mean, you know? But you know, when you try to explain to them and show them that this is just a pastoral activity that you are doing, but we want to do it in a different way. Look at it in this way we are looking at it, then definitely it changes mind. It's not easy, needs patience and flexibility and courage and strategy, because some people will lose even patience with you, but understand them, but slowly they pick up. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a really, really helpful example. Frederick, did you want to add to that?
I wanted to add to that, and just to say on a practical point of view, one thing that was really, that's a real challenge, and what happened even when we were starting the work at the demonstration counties, early engagement of critical stakeholders will be very, very important, just for them to understand what is care reform. And the good example is that the resistance that we got from charitable children institutions initially, and we were able, together with the National Council for Children's Services, DCS, and UNICEF and other agencies, to really have a series of sensitizations with the management, either the director of students, these CCIs or managers, for them to understand. And also another series of engagement with the social worker. That was really, really, really practical. And the other thing that we have started from the lessons that we have learned with the government, we are developing what we are calling the social behavior change strategy, which is informed by the views that we have done, we have received from a community view assessment on the perception of CCIs. And that is really going to see how do we change the behavior and the attitudes towards institutional care for children. And of course, using also other success stories that we are seeing, for example, in one of the network of charitable children institutions that was really resistant to change in Kilifi. Now the chairperson of that network is now the promoter of care reform as much as a director of an institution. Thank you so much, Ando.
Thank you. That's a lovely inspirational example at the end for us to have, that change is possible. The next question was around the demonstration counties. The question was, with the focus being on the 5 demonstration counties since around 2018, what advice do the panelists have for practitioners working in the other 42 counties? So I'm not sure who would like to take that question. Maybe Catherine or Hudson, who have a broader remit.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would attempt answering that question.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed, we've been in the demonstration counties like Kisumu since 2018. But as a country, we realized that we didn't have a clear strategy on how to undertake these care reforms. And that is why we spend a lot of time coming up with the tools to assist in the implementation of these care reforms. The recent one being the development of the strategy. So technically speaking, without tools, you won't be able to actually achieve much. But so far, things are moving on very well. So as a lesson to these other counties, let us borrow from what has been happening within the other counties so that we are not able to continue repeating the same mistakes as what has been done in the demonstration counties. So point of take home is let us pick the lessons that have been actually learned from these demonstration counties and be able to improve on them as we scale up the issue of care reform in our country. Thank you, Androva.
Thank you, that's fantastic. That's really great to hear that the learning is starting to be shared and disseminated from those counties, and will hopefully have a wider impact across the whole country. Okay, Catherine, did you want to add? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for that question. Really valid, because one wonders, what about the other counties and what about the other children? And that's a question we also ask ourselves. And as I said, one of the challenge we had was moving from paper to practice. And so we went this route of a demonstration. And with the strategy, yes, there is that opportunity. Also learning from other countries to know that the care reform process is a lengthy process. But we are hopeful with the strategy, which is a government document spelling out how we move and what we do and who does what, because as a challenge there was who has what mandate and how does that coordination come in. I think I know the acting CEO of NCCS is here, but one of the areas that was quite key was the management and the coordination of care reform, which now the cabinet secretary, otherwise known as the minister, has endorsed, and there is progress. But we know in the phase one, the strategy we have in Kenya is a 10-year strategy, with the phase one being 2 years to look at the work plan and the timelines, and starting the implementation immediately and consolidating the learnings we have and filling in the gaps as we move. Even as we have demonstration counties, I'm aware, and with the government, that other counties have started, like I know we have Garissa, we have Turkana, we have Nairobi, we have Siaya. So counties are taking the challenge and even starting on their own with the government money or otherwise partners' money. But yes, we need to move, but move in a way that we are more prepared. Yeah, over.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Thank you. Right, moving on to a slightly different topic now. And I also had a question about this, so I'm really glad it's been raised. What do you do exactly for children who are incarcerated with parents in your care reform efforts? I'm sorry, I can't remember who raised that issue of incarceration. Was it you, Michelle, who talked about that in your presentation when you were speaking earlier?
Yeah, it is. And I'm glad the question was asked too, because this is a population which we recognize is often forgotten in plans. Just by way of context, and of course, Mr. Mbai and others on the call can correct me, but children are sometimes incarcerated with their mothers up to the age of 4 years old. When we undertook the situational analysis, what we realized is that there was often this pathway from the prison to a charitable children's institution. In Moronga, we identified, through DCS, actually identified a particular case of a child, and we used this one case to pilot actually the case management package for reintegration and to see how that could be used to support the placement of the child within the community while the mother continued to serve out the term, as opposed to going straight into the CCI. So we undertook the procedures as they are noted in the government guidebook, which is really to emphasize this importance of that time government, with the support of UNICEF, Changing the Way We Care, and other partners, put together these packages, that they are indeed valuable and allowed us to support this case. Of course, there are many more children incarcerated with their mothers, and we do hope to see, especially in Moronga, in our county, a place where this is part of also the process, that they are taken into account and not left behind, and that we are acting as effective gatekeepers through using that critical package that the government has released and has been approved. I hope that answers the question. Happy to take further follow-up.
Thank you. That's fantastic. Thank you. And another question was around some more details about institutionalization in the demonstration counties, and you're learning about the scale of institutionalization and also the key reasons why children were entering institutions in those counties. I don't know if Frederick, you want to take that one from Changing the Way We Care's perspective, because I know you did quite a lot of assessment initially.
Yes, maybe perhaps you can, I'm trying to read the question. You can repeat the question so that I get it clearly.
Yeah, sure. So it was about the scale of institutionalization in those counties, how many children, how many institutions, roughly, and also about why children were entering institutions.
Thank you so much. Yes, what I can say from the 4 counties that we conducted this assessment, I think from those 4 counties, we had actually 5 counties, we had a total of almost 7,000 plus children who were in residential care institutions. And even the numbers there were also varying. For example, one of the counties like Kiambu alone had more than 200 residential care facilities as a county. And among the push and pull factors that were really identified, I think issues of education was coming out quite clearly. Children were going to these institutions just to seek education. There was also aspect of poverty. I want to put that one in quotes, because really many of them really thought that institutions will be able to address that economic situation in these families. Surprisingly, we had a very few number of children who had gone to those institutions because of disability. That was also a big surprise. But also it's a point of worry, because then it means then where are those children? Because that many times you're not seeing them in community, in those community interventions. Then also aspects of things like violence. It was an abuse against these children was really coming up, largely, especially on regions of coastal regions. Sexual abuse was really a main driver to these children, to these institutions. And also the issue of lack of parental care, like orphans, whether they are partial or double orphans. But the truth of the matter is that at least in our context, it also confirmed between 75 and 80% of those children at least had one living parent. So it's not the issue of lacking parents as much, it's pointed out. So that's what we found, and that's very crucial data that also we are working with. Thank you, and over.
Thank you, fantastic. The next question was for Sister Delvin, a couple of questions for you. The first one was around how you managed to keep your donors on board, and how you managed to ensure that donor funding moved with the child when they left institutional care, and you were able to continue funding children to be supported in the community, as we know that this is a really key challenge across the region and indeed elsewhere in the world. And also, as a Catholic-based institution, how do you help institutions from other faith-based groups? How do you connect with those organisations? Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Those are really beautiful questions. Good. I'm happy to answer them. For the non-Catholic institutions, anyway, why are we talking more of Catholic is because, first of all, you have to sweep your house before you go to your neighbors. So we began with what we have, first of all, but with the intention of reaching out to everyone or everybody, you know. But what we do is not only Catholic, because we share knowledge across the board. It doesn't, you don't need to be a Catholic for you to know this. And also, even the people whom we are training and bringing them together in meetings, people who are across all faith, because we have opinion makers, not necessarily to be a Catholic, because these are the people who support us in gatekeeping. So we get anybody whom we know is influential in the community, because like a sheikh is important, a pastor, a priest, all are important. So what we are doing, we began, first of all, we do our CCIs, first of all, see where can we improve. Then from there, we cascade to the rest of the CCIs. And the next question is how to go about donor. And I think this is the most difficult, I would say, hurdle that every institution, when they think of it and they're like, now what are you talking about? So this, as I said initially, that we are not only in Kenya per se, we have also a sister program in Uganda, in Zambia, though with different stages. We began late. We are the last ones as per now, but of course others that will come on board. But we thought of what can we do as sisters, first of all, to see that we support our institutions to be able not to think like, okay, this is our charisma, and how do we better really care for the children? Because we are telling them, look, there is need of de-institutionalizing children. There's a need of strengthening families, send children back to the communities. But they asked us, the big question is, are you going to fund us? And then if our funding partners are like, children should stay in the institution for them to help us, what will we do? So what we thought is, which strategy can we use really to see that, apart from just telling them to repurpose what they have, maybe change into other programs that are income generating, but if there's a need, maybe can we share our stories maybe globally and see those who are interested on how they can support us. Then we did a pilot in Uganda with the two institutions, one for the brothers and sisters, to see, is it possible? So first strategy, we began by supporting fully the CCI to develop their own website. Then with that, you help them to write success stories and share and request for support. See, because when you are expressing the need, you have tried to reintegrate a child, but you have more than 20 of them with you, and you want to reintegrate them, and you are stuck, and you are asking whoever is ready to support me in this right course, who is there to support me? Then of course you'll never miss people of goodwill. So it has proved to be working, and that's what now we are doing right here in Kenya. we've also begun with 2 institutions. So as we speak, we trained, first of all, 20 care, social workers and administrators in basic communication, of course, use of maybe social media, then how to write stories, how to publish a story of course, knowing that with the ethical issues concerning children issues also to be catered for and all that. So we've trained them. And so as we send them back, as now we develop for them the websites and teach them on how to now resource the funds on their own. So they'll be able to continue, because with the other income generating programs that they have, and maybe in future also seeing how we can strengthen them to have these income generating activities, so that they support also their families to have their own. So that's how we felt it will work. And so far for sure is working, because the 2 demonstrating institutions, they doubled their funding partners who are new, who came on board and are supporting them. So that shows you that is only to tell people what we intend to, then there are people of goodwill out there who will support us. Yeah. So that's how we are doing it. Yeah.
Another positive example, and I'm very impressed with how many different components your work has, from training social workers how to work with children, and also communications and social media use. It's very impressive. The next question, I wondered if I could call on Abdinur Sheikh and Karen Ogotti to answer this one, if you're willing to, as we're so lucky to have you on this call. It was really about the shift from national government policies to what's happening at the county level, perhaps in the demonstration counties or elsewhere, and how are those working at the county level embracing this national level reform that's taking place, and perhaps adjusting it to their own policies and practices at the county level, and also how you are encouraging better budget allocations around care. I don't know if Abdinur Sheikh or Karen Ogotti would be willing to answer those questions. If not, I'll ask the panel to respond. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, please go ahead.
Yes,
Thank you so much. We're so grateful that you're on the call, so it'd be great to draw on your expertise. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Abdinur Sheikh.
Yeah.
Now, about the coordination between counties and the national government, I will have something very short to say. Maybe Madam Karen will add on the practice going on now. But in developing our national care reform strategy, we made sure that it was consultative enough, and it had incorporated all stakeholders from the national and the county levels, including even traditional leaders, other actors in the children's sector, and we left out nobody, so that we made sure that everybody was involved in development of the national care reform strategy. And as Catherine had earlier said, we are almost finalizing, and by July, early July, we expect that we will have been done with it and we are through with it. And we were purposely involving everybody to ensure that there was ownership and there was clear role definition for everyone to make sure that the care reform strategy is something actually that fits into well from the national to the county government, and all from the leadership to the lowest grassroots levels. We made sure that it is participatory and everybody is involved. In terms of how it's already happening, I think Madam Catherine can further put in. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Madam Catherine, would you like to, Madam Karen, sorry, would you like to add to that, or Catherine?
I think it's Karen, yeah.
Karen,
I think it was Karen, yeah, sorry, I got... Karen, would you like to add anything to that?
Thank you, everybody. I wish I would say so much. I have a problem with my voice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd request invite to just say what we are doing in the counties.
Thank you.
Bye, please.
Get well soon.
Hudson can say what we are doing in the counties.
Great. Hudson, would you like to add something here around the work at the county level?
Yes. Hello, are you able to hear me?
Perfectly, yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. I think we are doing a lot as regards the counties in terms of coordination, because from time to time we are able to do monitoring with the counties and see where there are issues and agree on how to address. Concerning the policy, we have counties that are really embracing what we are doing as care reforms. You will realize that Murang'a County did come up with a child protection policy. The same is happening in Kilifi County. And already we have Turkana County is actually having a child protection policy. So in a nutshell, the response and the relationship between the county and the national government is quite positive, but is not yet where we want it to be. And efforts is actually being put into place so that we are able to move it to at least a higher level. Thank you, and over.
Thank you so much. And finally, I just wanted to come back to Frederick because he said he had some additional inputs regarding the reaching out to other faith groups that he would like to add to what Sister Delvin already shared with us. So Frederick, would you like to just expand on that a little bit? I'm sure that would be really helpful for everyone.
Thank you so much. I was actually trying to type that, but just to mention is that engagement of faith-based leaders is very critical. And one of the things that Catholic Life Services has been doing is to strengthen networks of interfaith networks across the regions that we work. And one example is in the coastal region, there is a network that I've been supporting for quite some time, and that is Coast Interfaith Councils of Cleric, that brings together the major denominations that Catholic, Muslims, Hindu, Protestants, evangelical community, and also the African traditional leaders, because in that region you still have people who are still observing the traditional way of worship. And this network has really been instrumental in care reform. They are part of our local implementing partners, and we are increasingly seeing influential religious leaders coming out to strongly speak about promotion of family-based care. And for those who have been watching in the media of late for the last 4 weeks, these leaders, especially the religious leaders, have been on media speaking about why children need to come out of this institution. And that is really positive because some of them are really influential. And also recently, the Bishop of Malindi, for example, also came out strongly saying as a diocese, they need to move away from institutional care to promotion of family-based care. So really investing in those leaders is very critical. And one of the things that we are looking forward with them is coming up with a joint theological document that is drawing from different scriptures that govern their faith, that is towards promotion of family-based care over institutional care. Thank you, Andova.
Thank you so much. That sounds like a fantastic initiative. I think we have responded to most of the questions or all of the questions that everybody has raised in the chat box. There's a little bit more discussion and information around support to imprisoned mothers in there as well and their children. So do take a look at what's in the chat box. And I'll just hand back over to Mona to wrap up this webinar. If you haven't done so already, we would really appreciate it if you can just type in your name, your organisation and your country in the chat box. It just helps us to keep a record of who's joining these webinars. And back over to you, Mona.
Thank you, Emily. My role is now to do some few remarks for the closure. First of all, I want to thank you all very much, dear participants, for your active participation. And this is evidenced by the very good questions that you asked. And also a very special thank you to our esteemed panelists. We had a panel from DCS and NCCS. We had Mr. Hudson Imai. We also had Catherine Kimothi of UNICEF Kenya Country Office. We had Frederick Mutinda from Changing the Way We Care, Michelle Oliel from the Stahili Foundation, Sister Delvin Mkuhana from the Association of Sisterhood Kenya. And also very much appreciated for having Mr. Abdinur Sheikh and Madam Karen for being able to join us today and also responding to some of the questions that were asked. I want to wish Madam Karen to get well soon. And last but not least, special thank you to you, Emily, for excellently coordinating with the panelists and also for organizing this virtual studies tour. We have so far had virtual study tours on Rwanda, Uganda, and Kenya, which was today. And in the next couple of months, we'll have a virtual study tour for Zambia and Malawi. And we'll be sending an email with some updates of this learning platform very soon. So with that, I thank you all very much, and I wish you a very good afternoon. Goodbye for now.